as we celebrate this Sunday with the Church, the dedication of the great Roman Basilica, dedicated in honor of St. John the Evangelist and St. John the Baptist on the Lateran Hill, an ancient church that serves as the church of the Diocese of Rome, as the Pope's church. We were greeted in the Gospel by a story from St. John the Evangelist of Jesus's cleansing of the temple with his whip made of cords as he drives out the animals and overturns the money changers' tables. The first time I heard it, I imagine for you it was the same. My initial response was something here must have made Jesus very angry. And I think it would be worth taking a moment to consider that. I also remember always thinking as a youngster in church that this probably meant we shouldn't be selling things in the back of church, and yet there was always some fundraiser going on, some raffle ticket to buy, some line of people you had to get through in order to get to your car after Mass, all of them wanting you to buy or donate to something, right? And so that always confused me a little. Personally, not a big fan of fundraisers at the back of church, or as fundraising as a form of ministry in the church. But I don't think that has anything to do with what Jesus was talking about. His concern wasn't that at this sacred place they were selling stuff. He wasn't concerned with the temple sacrifice. He wasn't even concerned with the exchange of monies that made it possible for foreigners or for people living under Roman occupation to buy things at the temple and sacrifice them. For himself, when he was a baby, his parents had gone and bought doves to sacrifice. And they had almost certainly had to exchange their Roman coin in order to make the sacrifice. It wasn't that those who were exchanging money, I mean, think a kiosk at the airport when you land and you want some dollars in maybe some euros or some pesos, and so you go and you pull out some money or exchange some money, right? This isn't, maybe their exchange rates were too high and they were ripping people off. This is not what was bothering Jesus. There's something much more sinister than exchange rates or selling stuff in the back of church happening here. Something that would also probably be important for us as church today to hear. I believe it very clear that Jesus is angered by the fact that these people have set themselves up as gatekeepers to God's love and grace, not as instruments, not as an expression, not as an opportunity, not as a sign for the world to see of God's love and how he chose his people Israel and how he would bless the whole world through them. No, they've become gatekeepers. And unless you enter through their gate, not through Jesus, not through the Father, unless you enter through their gate, through their money-changing table, buying their animals, you can't access God, God's mercy, God's grace. Jesus saw his own presence and the presence of his body and the presence of his temple, the presence of his church in a very different way. He wasn't limiting access to the Father. He was giving access to the Father. And we as church, that's a hierarchical organization, and that's you and me and our daily activities. As church, we're not called to ration or limit or protect God's grace from people. We're called to be instruments that freely give of God's love. And insofar as we set ourselves up with tables that you have to get past, with your money changing that only I can help you with. Insofar as we set ourselves up as gatekeepers, we might expect Jesus to come after us with cords that he's fashioned into a whip. And insofar as we recognize his vision of salvation, of the Father's love, of us as instruments, pouring out that grace wherever we can, I think we will line up with the rest of the ministry in the gospel that St. John the Evangelist tells us, beginning today.